Serious Star Trek with John E. Price, PhD, and Larry Young. Oh, Chancellor Larry Young.
Pretty soon I'm going to be head of the Federation, I can tell.
What's happening, fellas?
I can't do a worse job than that girl on Discovery. Oh!
She's not great.
What's going on, Dantron? John
Hey,
Price, I like your shirt. Disco sucks.
Thank
That's
you.
Awesome.
Yeah, it does. It does suck.
What's your shirt? What's your cap say? Can't read that.
It says Dog Dad.
Oh, Dog Dad.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Mhm.
adorable.
Do people know all your dogs named after famous astronauts?
No, I mean, clearly they don't. Yeah, we fostered a litter of puppies, and there was 7 of them, and so I was like, that's easy, the 7 astronauts, right? But then it turned out there was 11 of them, so we just added more, like Molly Cobb, famous astronaut, Mae Jemison, famous astronaut. He's growling in the background right now. I don't know.
I know, you're already talking about him. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Credit where credit's due.
Yeah. So what's going on, guys? What do we want to talk about today?
A lot of Star Trek this week, huh?
A lot of Star Trek.
So because we're on, Dan and I usually do a $1 Million Mailbox. So I know you guys have got those. I said last week, Debt of Honor by Chris Claremont, known and famous for the X-Men, and Adam Hughes, famous for everything he's ever drawn. Did like what I think is the best Star Trek graphic novel, but there it is.
Oh,
$1
wait,
Million
there it's
Mailbox.
not. What happened to $1 Million? What happened? Oh, there it is. There it
we
is.
go.
There it is.
So maybe, I don't know if we're going to talk a lot about this because, oh my God, like Discovery this week was incredible.
Yeah, I think we have to talk about Discovery at some point.
Do you want to? Okay, well, Dan's got this up. Do you want to just go?
No, we could go into Discovery first if you want. To tell you the truth, guys, I didn't watch it. I don't watch that stuff. But I only read about half of this, but I got a lot to say about it in comics. So if you guys want to go into Discovery first, I'll get us ready for. I got to warm up the Quadrillion Quatloo Qomix Qam.
Wait, what do you think, John? You want to talk about All Is Possible by
I literally
Alan
just
McElroy
finished
and
it.
Eric Robbins?
I literally
oh
just
my
finished
God.
it. 20 minutes ago, whatever.
So it's pretty fresh. Let's do that then.
To be fair, I skipped all of the book parts because it was really boring. So I kind of fast forwarded. But yeah, holy crap. First of all, a captain's log.
Right?
That's
I was
literally
telling you that.
Is that the first time it's happened in the series?
I don't
If
know.
it's not the first, it's the second, and it hasn't been
It's
a few years.
It's the only one that matters, though.
If
they have done it,
and it's a captain's log. It lays everything out. It walks you through the characters. It does everything a Star Trek opening is supposed to do, right?
I loved it because Kurtzman has that big thing, or maybe it wasn't Kurtzman, maybe it was Chabon, who said, we don't need captain's log.
It was Chabon,
like,
yeah.
Are you out of your mind? Of course,
Yeah.
There's no greater putting the audience on notice other than in a couple words saying, oh, you're watching Star Trek and here's what we're doing this week. Right? It's like it's a goddamn public service and to the narrative, and Chabon's like, oh, we don't need that.
Well, it's just, it's exposition that it's done organically. You don't have to cram in scenes of exposition. You can just be like, oh yeah, today's Thursday, and John's wearing a Disco Suck shirt, and Larry's doing this over here, and Dantron's looking at boobies. You set it up for the audience, right? It seems like a no-brainer. They've done it for 55 years. Why doesn't Discovery do it? Well, they did it this week. It was great. They set everything up. You didn't have to watch the last couple episodes per se, because the big bad that they've set up, they've now ignored for 2 episodes straight, which is frankly a brilliant idea because it's a stupid thing. It's just some stupid old Star Trek Discovery version type thing that they would normally do, which is awful. So yeah.
And plus, do you remember the name of it?
No, they tried to do like that clever little acronym.
Right,
and
that's all I ever think. It's like it stopped the narrative for me because I'm like,
I don't give a
what's
shit.
that? Oh, right, that's the
Yeah.
acronym thing.
It's the big 5 light years across thing that actually looks like the CBS logo. I'm sure
middle of
a
Egypt.
graphic. It's one of the graphic derners like big FU to the audience. It's like, yeah, the thing that's about to destroy the galaxy is the CBS logo. Just FYI. You know.
I love that. My notes for it is almost exactly you. It says captain's log with an exclamation point, and then the next one is book is the captain's woman. And
he totally is.
I was telling my wife about this, and how excited I was that there was a captain's log, and they sort of showed everything, like, hey, Stamets is still down in the engine room scratching his, and everything was great except for the bit about Book. I was like, is that really going to be in a captain's log? Like,
it's in her log.
We've, but it wasn't captain's personal log, right?
Right.
Captain's log, start date, whatever. And I was like, really? You're going to tell us about like what's going on under the sheets in your official report to Starfleet? Well, all right. But the thing was, like, that was like my main issue right off, instead of like my usual experience of watching Discovery, which is, well, this blows. Like immediately, there's like fade in, this blows. And
guys,
like,
can I ask a noob question here? You say they didn't do Captain's Log. Do they do is Discovery like single standalone issue episodes, or is it like ongoing, like continuing continuity?
They try to do the whole like super serialized things that every episode leads into the next episode, except they're really bad at it, which makes it worse. So like every once in a while they have like a standalone episode that breaks everything apart, and then every once in a while they have essentially have like a 3-parter, and then they'll go to a new story for like a 4-part. Like they claim that they do serialized, like super serialized storytelling, like like any of the Marvel shows on Netflix, right? Except those do it competently, and Discovery does not, which is a problem. So this season, the first 2 episodes were like basically a really long story, right? That sets up the rest of the season, or supposedly sets up the rest of the season. But then the last week's episode was kind of a standalone side adventure, and then this week's episode was a side adventure. So, I mean, it works for me, but yeah.
We follow the behind the scenes a lot, like, which is a really interesting experience for me as a kid. Nobody went to Logan's Run and thought, well, what's the first 3-day opening weekend doing here? You just, it was like, wow, there's laser guns and boobies and cool robots, and that's all you cared about. And now it's like really hard to escape the production because that's all the production guys talk about. Yeah. So I think it's really interesting. You could really tell they're like, oh, well, let's do Game of Thrones in space, but not understanding what Star Trek is and what Game of Thrones is. They just got, it's like there was that bit where we were really worried that like all superhero movies were going to be rated R because Deadpool got $750 million in February, and not just go, that's its own thing. Nice work, guys. Let's take our lessons from that. And they didn't take the lesson from that in Star Trek. And that's why I loved this episode. Like, think about what I'm saying. I love this Star Trek, which is really, it was 75% entertaining, but that's like so far beyond what it usually is that's like a home run to me.
Every episode is like a failure or like a D-. And then finally, like the last episode, my review was basically like, oh, this is a boring Star Trek episode. How refreshing. What a refreshing change of pace for Star Trek Discovery.
Right. The boring Star Trek is like a base hit.
Right. And this one was actually pretty good.
I thought this was great. What was what my favorite thing was when they set up the whole, my favorite thing was like Tilly's gone. If can't wait to talk about episode. That. I know, I kind of buried the lead there. But I loved the whole like, okay, guys, let's all work together thing, and Tilly was leading that, because that's like, it's just so proof that Alan knows what he's doing, right? Because he took a Star Trek trope. he took a Star Trek trope and then did it in an interesting way. Led you down the audience expectation where you're like, oh great, and this is just another one of those simulation things, and then they kill the guy who said this is a simulation, right? And I just love that. I was like, oh okay, well this is like a real TV episode now. This is great. And I actually, when I watched Discovery, I kind of like sit on the edge of my seat, like, oh no, what are they going to do now? And this one, I kind of relaxed. I was like, all right, plus or minus, I'll enjoy this one. And I ended up loving it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, there's a couple things we need to talk about. One, we need to talk about the big ending. We need to talk about, because we all follow the behind the scenes stuff, and like you were saying, and I pay attention to who directs, who writes, right? Because I want to see if there's any like through things, right? And there's that one guy who I can't stand. He directs a whole bunch of episodes. I can't stand him. I think he's a horrible director. But this week was written by Alan McElroy, who also wrote one of my favorite episodes from the first season, which I can't remember what it was. A stupid name. All those first season episodes had those ridiculous names. It was like, Oboe for Sharon's butt or whatever it was. And
right, the coin for Charon.
Yeah, but it was one of the only episodes where the character interactions felt real and the scenes kind of like worked together, right? And I think it's notable that this guy Alan McElroy is like he's hitting home runs in this series where everyone is the Bad News Bears. Like, it's I think it's notable. So we should probably walk through the episode real quick, just kind of hit the big points. So the Federation wants Vulcan, or what used to be Vulcan. Now it's Vulcan and Romulans living together. They want that planet called Navarre to rejoin the Federation, right? And so they're having this big peace talk, and they bring Michael along for whatever reason. And that's a whole story. That part of the story I didn't like. But the rest of it is Tilly, who's been having this kind of crisis of confidence lately, is assigned to lead this kind of cadet training mission. They go and is that right? Am I missing? Yeah. She's leading. She's a lieutenant now. She's no longer Ensign Tilly or Cadet Tilly. She's Lieutenant Tilly. She's leading this cadet training mission and hoping that her experience can help provide for these cadets, because in the Star Trek Discovery universe, they haven't had warp drive for like 100 years. So none of these people know each other. Like, all they know about each other is that they kind of hate each other. Everyone's xenophobic. Like, it's this whole thing. So get these.
Hey, can I just interrupt for a second? Because I thought that was really a depth thing that Alan and his co-writer Eric Robbins. I don't want to. Yes, I want to give that guy.
No, definitely.
I want to give him his props, and just the two of them working in this whole structure, because that's great. I get they're sort of doing the Zoom meeting thing like we have to do now, right? Like that all of these people have to learn how to work together under different circumstances now. And I was like, boy, that's just great. And what a Star Trek trope, right?
And in the context of the Discovery universe, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
these people wouldn't like each other. They wouldn't automatically be like, oh yeah, the Federation, yay. No, they'd be like, screw that guy. He's from Epsilon 4. Like, I don't fucking like Epsilon 4. I
wish they would do some more with that, though, right? It's like, like it's that 1,000 years is the difference between us and Vikings. How anybody is listening to these people, much less going, hey, you know what? You should teach a class in like baking at the Starfleet Academy, because we like your 1,000-year-old perspective on things. I mean, like I don't know. I wish it was a little more rough, their assimilation into the world, but I don't know. Sorry. Go ahead. So go ahead.
I think you're looking at the wrong episode there, Dantron.
Am I? It says season 3, episode 3.
Season 4. We're on season 4. Believe it or
not.
Yeah. Season 4, and now we're talking about episode 4 right now.
All right.
But yeah. So then Tilly's leading this mission, and she brings along new Tilly. And new Tilly is also having her little crisis of, I'm an ensign, I don't know what I'm doing, right? So and then something, I don't even remember what happens, but they end up crash landing on a planet. Very classic Star Trek. Now they have to work together as a team. Except you have all these higher issues of the Star Trek Discovery universe where they have all these background issues. They don't like each other. You know, they have stupid costumes on. They don't know what's going on, right? So they have to learn how to work together. And finally, Tilly, of all people, has to rise up. And, you know, it's a very classic Star Trek episode. She has to rise up and tell them that they have to work together.
Better, guys?
Now, right?
Better?
That's last week's.
Holy cow! You guys are killing me.
No, that's good though. You showed the U.S.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Water.
Season 4, episode 4. I swear I said 3. No wonder I didn't watch the wrong one. I watched season 3, episode 3, I think, and I was like, this stinks.
Yeah, no, it's not good.
Honestly, that one, I like that they gave. That's where they started to give Dr. Culber something to do. I love that actor. I think he's incredible, and they just give him nothing to do.
Yes.
And my wife was like, yeah, because that's nothing that happens. Like in the old Star Trek, somebody would break a leg or get, exposed to radiation. And even sometimes just like it's time for your physical, and then Bones and Kirk would talk about, girls while he had his shirt off and, doing his heart pumping thing. But like there was a reason to be in sick
the kicks, the upside down kicks.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, it's great.
The cheese, that's what I tell you. Everybody's like, that's stupid. I'm like, no, it's awesome. Your definition.
It's memorable.
Yeah. But
and then you have
they made him the ship's counselor now. And so that was last episode.
Yeah, no, I really like I like changing him into the counselor. I think he's much better as a counselor than he is a doctor, like as a character. Because he's got that real gentle demeanor about him, and he does a really good job. And he's fine being a doctor. I don't care if he does both, but he's really good in the counselor role.
I love the context of that, in that he doesn't want to do it, so it makes it separate from Troy. Like, oh, I sense veiled discomfort, and he's like, look, man, this is a bummer, and I get it, and you can finish your story, and I'm going to tell you why I think it's a bummer too. And then we'll all have a good cry. That makes sense coming from him, right? Yeah. But having Burnham do that every 5 seconds is just not good. Although I love that last scene.
Yeah,
you guys go ahead and cry and hug and talk about the old days as much as you want, because the end of the story is you're walking away into the green screen.
So then, basically, like I said, I skipped through the book parts. I don't care about him.
Well, you got to the Galileo 7 bit, right?
Yes. Yeah.
We need to be a space team on the space ice. I like that.
Yeah.
I thought that
was great. Classic Star Trek. They all work together as a team. Bunch of conflicting personalities, have to overcome their differences. Blah blah blah. Tilly's really good at it. She's a good mentor type figure. She rises up into the role. Eventually, at the very last second, classic Star Trek. Very last second, they beam out before they're all killed. Very classic Star Trek all the way around. Love it. It's fantastic. A little too much of the visual effects, like 2009 Star Trek movie. But hey, you know what? Nitpicks at this point. Nitpicks. Baby steps, nitpicks, whatever.
Think of how many times you said classic Star Trek about a Discovery episode.
I know. Dude, I am shocked. I am the guy who sells Disco Sucks t-shirts on friggin' Teespring. Like, I am well aware of what's going on here. Meanwhile, we've got what's the other? The other subplot is Michael Burnham saving the day, which is not good.
Yeah, but it's so funny that they think that's the A. They think that's the A story.
They think that's the part they care about. Yeah.
Can you give us some more stuff where the speaking of classic Star Trek, like the conflict between the two cadets about like, well, you don't know what the Emerald Chain did. It's like, well, tell them who your dad is. It's like, oh, my dad's like green Abraham Lincoln. You're like, oh, really? Oh, I guess we have lots of stuff to talk about.
Yeah. What is that species, by the way? Is that supposed to be Tellarite? What is that weird species with the horns and the dreads?
I don't know the names of the bridge crew of the show.
That's true. That's a good point.
So I'm not going to know.
That's a good point.
Random cadet guy is.
So then the other plot, the A plot, ostensibly, is Vulcan or New Vulcan and the Federation are both being stubborn assholes, and they won't come together. And the Federation president tells Burnham she's an asshole a couple times. I love the Federation president because she really dislikes Michael Burnham, just like me. So it's great. I love it.
Is she half Kardashian and half Bajoran, do you think? Or is it
that's what they were saying. Also, she mispronounced Bajoran, which really pissed me off. But
that's what I got from this episode.
Inaccurate, data in error.
It's only because they mentioned that humanity and Bajor were at war with the Cardassians, but it all
well, she's got a very subdued kind of spoonhead thing.
That's what I was looking. Is that just 1,000 years of evolution where they don't have that crazy stuff? But I was looking at the bridge of her nose, and it's like, if there were little like horizontal lines at the top of her nose, I would say she was, But maybe that's what it is, that the Cardassian Bajor kind of got together. And
I don't understand how
solve their problems.
How Adira holds a Bajoran woman inside her. So I don't know. Who knows? I have no idea. Yeah. I don't understand a lot of things that go on in Star Trek Discovery. It's fine. It's fine. So, it's all fine. It's all fine.
Speaking of not knowing the characters' names, what did you think about the robot body for her discorporeal form? Like, I just think they're trying to redeem Picard. They built a new robot body for her ghost person.
What a stupid thing. That's such a stupid idea.
I kind of do like that. If you're gonna do that stupid idea and keep jamming that down our throat, that they look different every time you see them.
Yeah,
because they're just trying out their new body. That's fine. I'm totally down with that.
Right. 1,000 years in the future, maybe they've gotten a lot better at it. That's fine. I understand that. Doing it with Picard was fucking stupid in the first place. Let's not. I just think that's their original sin here.
I just think for Star Trek, it's wrong because the human adventure is just beginning, right?
Yeah,
what does that have to do with robot bodies?
It doesn't.
I don't need Blade Runner to go, hey, androids are people too.
That just sounds. It just sounds like Kurtzman has a fetish for robots. That's what it really sounds like.
Probably. He doesn't understand humans, so he wants real dolls. So I don't know.
Humans. So
robots are hip. Robots are hip, though, guys. Don't you think that in reality, like, if we were to look 1,000 years in the future, it's going to be just human robots? Like, we're going to be like the Borg, expanding into outer space with just these robots that live for thousands of years and just continue exploring.
I would like to live for 1,000 years. That'd be cool.
Well, I mean, our robots will, right? Like V'ger will. V'ger will live on.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree.
But yeah, I think it's I think our future. The closest thing I've seen to our future, Star Trek is like, it's nice. It's a nice fantasy of what the future's like, but the reality of the future is, and Larry, I think, has to agree, alien.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's corporations extracting resources. That's the only thing that's going to get us there. Not some high-minded, like, desire to save humanity, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be like, there's something really valuable out there that is worth all the time and effort to get.
Dilithium.
Well, the Chinese are looking into that hut on the moon. They found like a structure on the moon. You know?
Oh, come on. So, you don't think that's a lens artifact?
I'm just
I
saying.
didn't hear about that one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They
put out this whole thing. The Chinese put out this whole thing that they're investigating a structure on the moon. And it's like, is it? I don't know.
You know, they have that. They have a little rover on the moon now. It's named for the Chinese god of the moon rabbit or something. I forget what. Chang, something like that. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Is it named after Neil Armstrong? Then it's irrelevant.
Right. Then who cares?
Who gives a
But
crap?
they came back with a picture of it looked like a cube on the horizon, and obviously there's not going to be right angles on anything on the moon unless it's been,
I was thinking maybe they like accidentally ran into like one of the limbs, like they just are so stupid they don't know it,
Oh, that they're that
moon
close.
Cube.
It looks like that would be much bigger though than
I don't know.
the descent stage landing.
I don't know. Maybe it's some I don't know, some Russian crap. I don't know.
It says this is 260 feet away. So how are you on the horizon line at 260 feet away? That doesn't
because it's a little Tonka truck that's on the ground.
Yeah.
So 260 feet is its horizon, right?
Well, but the horizon of the moon, how do you get it lined up with the horizon? That's an interesting thing.
It's actually Alan Shepard's golf clubs that he forgot.
Yeah, I hope it's the Hard Rock Cafe Tranquility Base or whatever.
And this is on the far side of the moon, so who knows? It could be some Russian thing that we never even knew about.
I hope to God it's something friggin' head cracking, but it's probably not.
I don't want the Chinese to be making first contact. Are you kidding me? I want us to make first contact.
Well, that's my other vision of 1,000
us.
years. That's the other vision of 1,000 years in the future, right? Come to Earth and what is the political makeup and racial makeup going to be like? I don't know that it's going to be Iowa farm bred, dudes manning those spacecrafts necessarily.
Well, I love what Discovery is doing, but I think they didn't go far enough, as usual. That if you're going to be 1,000 years in the future, I'm totally down with diversity and stuff, but you should have cast every single person like they looked like Halle Berry, right? That's what's going to happen in 1,000 years. That people are going to just not worry about it, and everybody's going to end up the same color from Earth.
I did like how at the very end, David Cronenberg was was talking about. He was telling Tilly, he's like, "Yeah, when you guys first got here, we didn't trust you because you showed up in a Viking ship," which is exactly the line you and I have been talking about.
Right.
We've been dropping that line, so maybe they're listening to us again.
Well, I know Alan's on my Facebook.
I mean, hey, if it works, if I can subliminally backdoor get my ideas in the Star Trek Discovery,
we're not going to take credit for anything, but I know people pay attention to what we say, John.
But yeah, I did like that, and it's weird that David Cronenberg's in Discovery.
So that was when you said
him.
I liked what David Cronenberg said. I was like, I wish they got an actor though. Because
the director David Cronenberg?
No, David Cronenberg. He's like a character.
He's an actor.
He's like this weird, all-knowing character or something. I don't understand, but he's in it. It's like one scene an episode.
The first time he showed up, I was hoping that it just was David Cronenberg.
Right.
You may know me from shooting videos.
You may know me from.
Is he real creepy and weird and stuff?
Yes.
Is he Cronenberg-esque? Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, it's creepy and weird in the context of Star Trek because he's not an actor, right? So his delivery is pretty deadpan. So as an audience member, you're like, is this important? Is he just kind of glossing over something, or is he trying to tell us? Then I would start watching how many times he blinks and he Morse codes A, F. No, that's not a word. What is he doing?
Are they just ripping off Mandalorian using what's his name?
Yes, the answer is yes. Yeah.
What's the guy's name? Yeah, I forgot.
Oh yeah,
tip of my
Werner
tongue.
Herzog. Werner Herzog.
Yeah, Werner Herzog. They're like, famous director we love.
No, they did it after. Yeah, they did it after that. Yeah, it's 100% a ripoff. Yeah.
Okay, that deserves.
Verified.
That said, we're getting ready for Spider-Man coming up next week. So my kid hasn't seen the Andrew Garfield ones, and we watched them, and they were great. And guess who wrote number 2? Alex Kurtzman and Robert Orsi.
Yeah.
And I love they did Fringe. I loved all 5 years of that show. So these guys are not untalented people.
Maybe it's all Orsi.
But that's the Jamie Foxx one, the number 2, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was a huge flop, widely derided for its special effects and its story being horrible. That's not Electro that anybody knew. Paul Giamatti, that was not a good movie.
Well, see, here's the thing. If you watch it now, it becomes light years better. Because all the stuff that were dings against it back then are all like, oh, this is just, this is from the Garfield multiverse. And it gets its own legitimacy. I hated Sally Field is Aunt May, and now I'm like,
Yeah.
that's really good casting. But anyway, this is Feige pulled.
Can we just talk?
another one
I'm
out.
sorry. Can we just talk real quick about the Michael Burnham storyline, and then we can move on? Because
No,
because the
I'm gonna start
resolution,
weeping.
the resolution of the political drama between New Vulcan and the Federation, they're butting heads. They won't, no one wants to back down. New Vulcan wants basically a secession clause in their agreement that's like, we can leave whenever we want. The Federation's like, well, then you're not part of us if you can just leave whenever you want, right? There's like, what the fuck? And then Michael Burnham is like, hey, I'm going to provide you a third option. And so I was thinking maybe they're going to do something clever, and like Saru's people are going to come in and like be like the mediators, right? I'm like, because that would be, at least that would be like an actual third option. She presents herself as a citizen of New Vulcan and as a citizen of the Federation. She can be she herself is the personal mediator between these two, entities.
They did sort of,
And that's
set it
what
up,
they agree with.
that there would be a third person. They set it up that way. It's like, or a third, like,
Yeah, her. Yeah,
but
she
then it's like,
is the third thing.
But then she reveals that, and I'm like, well,
It's so stupid.
How are the Vulcans going to follow this train of logic whatsoever? Because she wasn't trained on Navarre.
She's not
Trained on
Vulcan.
Vulcan 1,000 years ago. So
She's
what
not
do you have to
Vulcan.
say about what's going on now, right?
First of all, she's a Federation Starfleet captain, right? She's not unbiased.
Right.
Okay, she's not a mediator. She is a Federation captain. She's not a fucking Vulcan. She was just raised by Sarek's doppelganger, right? So it's like, it doesn't make any sense. And in the context of Star Trek Discovery, if there was no B plot with Tilly, that would have usually just been the entire episode, and we would have been sitting here saying, "This is awful. I hate it. I want this show to die." I want to point that out, because if it wasn't for the B plot with Tilly and all the actual Star Trek stuff, this would have been an awful episode.
That's what I love, though. That there was the Tilly plot, but then there was the political stuff that didn't make any sense. There was a crying thing with Book, like, oh, this is just programmable matter, not the actual planet. I see what you're doing. Like, what adult would process that way? And then the bit with Adira and Gray, I just was like, whatever. But that's how strong the Tilly thing was. But think about that. Let's give a moment to
and
Alan
Tilly
and
is
Eric.
like one of the
And
worst.
Tilly is the most Star Trek thing going on.
Yeah.
I loved it. It kind of reminded me of Lady RoboCop, where it's like, give me that person. What's it like to be jacked into a Starfleet ship? You can't go to sleep. You can't have margaritas with your friends. There's always something that you're active with. And then they finally do give us that episode, and then they kill her. And so I felt the same thing about this. It's like, in my notes, I have Tilly's got balls, right? And it's like, wow, that's all we've been saying. Like, give Tilly some balls instead of make her so, useless as a character. And then that episode, they make her balls, and she goes, "Yeah, peace out. I'm going to go be a teacher."
Well, I do love before she pieces out, her and Michael have a nice little intimate moment. And she's like, "Man, I was scared shitless to sleep next to the most infamous mutineer in Starfleet history," which I just love.
They brought that up.
I love that they brought it up, and I love that they said it, because it's a common talking point among the Discovery fans that, well, she didn't really mutiny. She's not really a mutineer. It's like, no, the show's telling you she's a fucking mutineer.
Yeah, she's a giant criminal.
It was the entire first season, in case you forgot. But yeah, and then she fucking warps out of there. She's gone. And she's gonna come back. That doesn't matter. Let me have my moment, right? Because Tilly was, let's be real, right? And this has nothing to do with the actress. This has nothing to do with anything. This is the character as a character was awful, right? She was supposed to be the quirky, like, cadet who didn't know what she was doing but was secretly brilliant, right? Except it was written terribly. It was acted terribly. It was set up terribly. All of her moments were terrible, right? I actually knew Tilly better, the Adira person. I really like her. I think she's a lot better at being the quirky, like, innocent, I don't know what I'm doing, but secretly I'm brilliant. I think she's a lot better at it. I've been calling her New Tilly in my reviews. And now she's literally new Tilly because Tilly's gone. I'm so happy. It's the happiest moment of my life.
Uh-oh.
Here they come.
Here they
Chris
come.
Sagasag, Rekasala, and the Lowell boys.
Got a few around. Extreme
Yeah,
Hot
man.
Dog.
If anyone has any comments or anything, let us know. What did you think about the last episode?
Yep.
That's a big deafening silence. I don't think anybody's watching this thing,
I
guys.
know Extreme Hot Dog has not been watching Discovery and thinks that I'm a lunatic to continue putting
True.
myself through it every
We
week.
are. But hey, if it pays off with a C+ of an episode, I mean,
I really enjoyed this episode. So here's the thing: when I said, how many times have we said classic Star Trek in this episode? But one of the things I loved about Star Trek is that there's always some meaty line that like sticks in your head forever, like risk is why we're aboard her. Just anything. You can take that from any Star Trek, right? You know, Enoch is one of us. And Discovery doesn't have that. And then this episode, I wrote down like 2 Tilly lines. I was like, holy God, this is amazing. Like one of them was
the one that sticks in my head is you're in Starfleet now. You say I.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, come on, guys, we're in Starfleet. You say I. And right before that, she's like, I've been told I'm a very positive person.
Yeah.
I'm bubbly even. Like while stuff's blowing up. That's very Star Trek. Like, why don't we have one of those every episode, right?
Yeah. Well, it requires good writers. That's why.
Right. Well, and that's what Alan.
So I think it's notable. And again, like we were saying earlier, you know, we try to keep track of who's doing what behind the scenes, and the episodes that aren't directed by that guy, I forget his name. It's Hyundai something. Are better than the ones he directs, and the ones that are written by people like Alan and there was another writer who actually does well. I can't remember her name, but anyway, the point is, get Boo Young Sung out of there, get friggin' Kurtzman out of there, get Michelle. Well, I got to reserve judgment. I don't know about Michelle Paradise because so far you've got 2 not bad episodes out of 4. So
I do think that judgment. Whatever she's doing, she's letting because this is the thing that killed people like you and me. Discovery has talented writers in the writing.
Oh yeah, sure.
So you're like, how are there talented writers and it's not coming out good? That just spells the show writers rewriting stuff, right? The showrunner. So that's personal. So Michelle Paradise at least sounds like she's doing the super difficult job that Kurtzman trusts her to run the show and lets her, run their guys. And look, quality's starting to come out. So I don't know. Maybe they'll figure it out like Enterprise and then cancel the show and start over.
God,
right? Like Enterprise was pretty weak right until the end. And then
you know what? If this was the first season of Star Trek Discovery and they were like, hey, we're 900 years in the future and the Federation's a shit show, I'd be like, yeah, that's cool. Let's go from there.
I wouldn't have had a crossword about that ever. It's like for 4 years they didn't know what. I say this all the time. Who's the main character and what do they want? You couldn't answer that. You still kind of can't answer that for Discovery.
Well, the main character is Burnham, but what does she want is who knows. It varies every 10 minutes.
It
She's
seems
supposed
like
to be.
The main character of Star Trek Discovery seems to me like it's Alex Kurtzman's sense of politics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a little arch. It's like, because we're not following Michael Bourbon, or she's not learning anything. She just sits around crying all the time. That's not a main character thing to do. So I don't know. They didn't know who the main character was. They didn't know what the setup was. They just started. They did 2 episodes and then did another pilot. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, we got to come. Can't wait for Strange New Worlds. And I mean, if this is any indication, one of the other issues I had was they don't understand, or they seem to not understand what the word serialized means, right? Because they never did 100% serialized episodes, and even when they did, they would always have these side adventures. And so, like, they have this, we're not doing episodic stories. It's like, well, episodic doesn't mean that there's not a story. It just means you're going weekly adventures to get through that story. right? And they never really understood that. And so if Strange New Worlds, they keep saying it's going to be more episodic, it's going to be more like classic Star Trek. Well, I mean, shit, man. If it's like this episode, if it's like last episode, I mean, this is a positive trajectory we're on here, right?
I agree.
Yeah.
The one thing that gives me pause, and I know for somebody like Dan, that like if you don't buy into your season-long story, there's no reason to watch that show.
That's just where I was just about to ask, like, guys, do you think it's time for like to swing back in the other direction? Like the way Mandalorian, I think, walked that line, they pulled it off the best with an overarching storyline, but bottle episodes, and really it felt like something you could pop in, watch any single episode, and come away and say, I want to watch more, and not just be like, I don't know what is going on because I haven't watched more.
Right. There's no jumping on point in the original Star Trek because every episode is a jumping.
This comes right back for full circle back to Captain's Log, right? Like when you have a show like that is not episode to episode continuity, you need that. You need an exposition device, but it works so perfectly. Like you were saying, John, here we are, here's what's going on, let's go. Not like, oh my God, do you remember that guy raised his eyebrow in that meeting 3 episodes ago, and like that was foreshadowing, it's too much.
And then they all cry about it for three minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That's the part.
And I'm not even complaining about Star Trek. I'm just complaining about TV in general these days. It's gotten they've gone too far down this.
I love Sagasag like came in just to tell us he's not watching Discovery because
he's a true fan.
That's amazing. And Extreme Hot Dog, he's like, I didn't watch it, but I'm glad Tilly's gone because I don't have to hear my father talk about what a shitty character that is.
New commenter, Star Pod Log and Star Pod Trek podcast says, we buy every Star Trek comic that comes out, even the Discovery ones. Why in the world isn't there a regular monthly Star Trek comic series? There's a ton of Star Wars ones, and that's a great question.
I got a feeling about that. I don't know exactly why, but I got a feeling it's like what the BBC does with Doctor Who, that they will never have like a side adventure of like the 8th Doctor or something because they're on 13th Doctor now. They've said because they don't want to take attention away from the present guy, which is fair enough from a commercial standpoint, but it's a time travel show that's been on for 50, almost 60 years. Right, so all the audience is going to be fans of different aspects of the character, and that's built into the story of the show. And it's kind of like that in Star Trek. Just from being a really good Star Trek fan, feels like you're a future historian, like John Price, PhD. I could throw out a year like 2272, and you can tell me 3 things that happened in Federation history then.
So there's speculation that that's the year of the motion picture, 2272. Typically, it's usually 2279, but I like to think it's 2272. Anyway,
it's a little shorter. It has to be shorter because anyway.
I think so. Anyway,
guys, is it our last comment brought up comics?
But that's
and
why
here she is again.
That's why they're not doing the comics though, because they don't want to take away from the present thing. Because God forbid if you got a really good DS9 comic going, and that took all their attention away and showing people like that's what people want out of Star Trek and not the television. That would be just this giant corporate embarrassment. So they're not even gonna. They're not even going to.
The flip side of that, though, Larry, is that they're all about creating 30 TV shows at the same time.
No.
You know.
Well, I honestly think it could have to do with the licensing of the actors' likenesses and stuff. Like, I don't know. All I know is we have a little bit of time left, guys. Do we want to look at some comic books?
Yes.
And talk about
Perfect
that?
segue.
Okay.
Perfect segue. Because I'm not sure that actor's likeness has anything to do with it, but there are definite, like, the approval process, right? Of which likeness is part of it. But it's all like I know that's what kind of screwed up Tops's X-Files comic, because that was drawn by Charlie Adlard, who's mostly well known for Astronauts in Trouble and something called Walking Dead. But before that, he came to my attention from the top stuff, because he was just super fast, and he used to get such a hassle about, well, it's likeness rights, and it's like, well, you know, there's a tall guy and a redheaded girl. Do you really need it to look exactly like the actors to know who's Scully and who's Mulder? I don't know.
So
That's how I
just
feel
real
about
quick.
Star Trek.
I'm sorry, just real quick. Mitch brings up Star Trek Year 5, which I knew about Year 5, and I don't know anything about comics. And IDW does do comic runs, so I don't know if we're talking about just like, what are we talking? Are we talking about just a continuation, or are we talking about like a regular series? I'm not sure.
Well, that's the thing. They got nothing, apparently. And so, since we're going to talk about comics, guys, by the way, I think that we got to bring in my old pal, Dan Shaheen. Hang on a second. Okay, we're going to talk about comics. So let's bring him in, and let's...
Is Dan Shaheen an ancestor of Dantron?
Dantron is only half blue. The other half comes from the dark side of the human gene pool. Let's just say, okay?
Wow.
We don't need to talk too much about that, but
I love how the kids love us wearing our Star Trek costumes, and you have the awesome mage lightning bolt on.
Oops.
Matt Wagner's mage.
For the kids that don't know, this is what it's all about.
Yeah, baby. I know.
The dummies think it's Black Adam. Old dudes like Larry understand what's going on.
I'm just impressed you still have that thing. That's gotta be a 30-year-old shirt.
Dude, I saw it advertised online. This is actually, I bought it only a few years ago. It's actually, if you remember from the Mage comic, Kevin Matchstick had a supply of them like that he kept.
Yeah,
he had like several. He's like, I keep a bunch of these.
He's always getting a Star Trek thing where his shirt's getting ripped up all the time. Yeah,
I got some Mage cosplay stuff I want to do, Larry. Old man Mage, I need your help. I want to talk to you soon.
When I was in college, I painted a baseball bat with that glow-in-the-dark paint. And
I'm trying to do that.
Man,
I'm trying to figure out how you do that.
Nobody.
I want it to really glow, though.
You comics guys, you kind of weird.
Yeah, a little bit. Well,
anyway, buy Disco Sucks on Teespring.
Okay, let's talk about how weird. Let's talk about what a Star Trek fan Chris Claremont truly is, because this is...
this blew me away.
Like I said, I haven't finished it yet, but just what I read. Like, when I read every line, and it has a lot to do with Adam Hughes' amazing ability to capture the likenesses of these guys, but I hear the voices. I hear Kirk's voice coming out. This dialogue rings true to me. And the relationships, he drops little Easter eggs throughout. He's talking Jeffrey's tubes. He's referencing Bob April even.
Yeah,
right.
Bob
April.
Yeah.
Bob April. Okay, so
who was that guy? The yard master who in his exposition dump says,
oh my gosh,
says his 4 names and hyphenated last name.
Yeah,
I love that. I was like, I hope that's a real guy, like his family dentist or something, that he's putting in every possible name. Like, you know, the one about Colonel Sean Jeffrey Christopher, right? Price.
What's that?
You know Sean Jeffrey Christopher from Tomorrow Is Yesterday. The Captain Christopher.
Yeah, Captain
and
Christopher.
then the guy on Saturn. Well, Sean, Jeffrey, and Christopher were the 3 sons of John D.F. Black, the writer of that episode.
Oh, okay.
So,
nice.
So I always thought that was cool, and that's what I always think that when I see some ultra specific name in Star Trek.
Yeah.
Like that guy, Seamus Garth Rhyme Stevens or whatever.
Larry, I wanted to ask you: was this an adaptation of a novel by Claremont? Or was this just a straight original OGN?
No, this is a full OGN as far as I'm concerned. You can tell from the first 3 pages. Like, look at that. It starts off with that cool splash page of him kicking what's that actor's name? Christopher Lloyd off the cliff.
Face.
Right? So you're in Star Trek 3, and that turns into this reverie about, Star Trek 2, and then the ship blows up in 3 again.
Yeah,
and I just love how they use to do that in the movies, I mean, they're calling back like 20 minutes of screen time that they can just do in three pages,
Totally.
which I really think is the power of comics.
I will say this is some sexy ass artwork. Just real quick. I
Every
mean,
time,
look at these ships, man. That is a sexy ship.
Yeah,
I can't. Give me a minute. Hold on.
dude, I should flow you some more Adam Hughes stuff because this is his early stuff, and it just gets better.
We met Chris Claremont. He relayed how much of a huge. It so shows, like it's so obvious, and he gets the relationship between all the characters, and it just reminds me like. There's so many Claremontisms in here, but he stays true to Star Trek. And as much as I wanted to hate on how much dialogue there is,
there's a lot.
It really is moving the plot forward. It's not a very visually driven comic at all. It really is dialogue driven, but with some beautiful visuals and character moments. See, this is what Adam Hughes can do that not a lot of other people can do is emote. He's the king of emotions.
I love
in comics.
Yeah, and that's a great note for like original Star Trek was not very action driven. It was all how does the human adventure begin, and like fortunately for us, it's with girls in skin tight bathing suits in this part of the show, I guess.
I mean, do what you gotta do.
But that's what you get Adam Hughes for, right? The Romulan commander. It's looking pretty good.
My gosh, it gets. Yeah, I could just see little Danny popping up like a something because there's a moment, man, when the sexy Romulan comes back. We'll get to it. Half Romulan, half Vulcan character from Kirk's past. What's weird about this one is it starts in a dream sequence, so you're right away. You're like, what is happening? And it goes into the past, and then it comes into the present of Star Trek. So it's a little jarring, and especially if you're not really familiar with those movies in particular, as well as old series lore. But if you are familiar with all those things, this is just a love letter.
Yeah, see that picture? Don't turn the page.
Yeah.
See that shot of Kirk in the upper left?
Yeah.
I just love that this is him as a Farragut junior officer. So he doesn't have Academy of Points because they hadn't made those up yet at that part of the Star Trek show. His sideburns.
Also, note that Farragut has its own insignia.
Did you see too? I actually looked it up. That's because there's a little controversy about the difference between what's that guy's name? There are two different ideas of what the Defiant and the Farragut insignia look like. But either way. This is Adam Hughes chose the good one.
Adam Hughes is a master. He's not asked to do a lot with action. He's asked to do a lot though with like just one, likenesses of the characters, and two, just he brings a sexiness to everything that he draws, including like the ship. Everything in this thing is just beautifully rendered. The dialogue. Now here's my theory, guys. Vulcans are not actually super logical. They're just pedantic. They're just pedantic assholes.
Yep.
They really are. Her dialogue is so annoying that you like really cheer for her when she gets her head bashed in here, and then she makes an extremely illogical sacrifice in her own words. She's like, "This is illogical." Kirk kissed her one time, and dude, he just must know how to do it because she instantly falls in love. She just met this guy. She falls in love, ostensibly sacrifices herself for him.
Kirk didn't kiss her. Look at she's holding him. She plants one on him.
Knew what she was
like,
doing.
Oh
yeah, that's right. Well, he hits on her.
This guy, Kirk's got a Kirk. But,
so great.
Like, that feels so good. But hey, you smell nice, Vulcan lady.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, sorry, I meant to think that. My mind isn't focusing. Like, even when he's hurt and hit, the libido.
I love over in the chat. Tony's giving you a hard time about being not being blue skinned anymore. And
well,
our man,
we teleported in Dan Shaheen to replace Dantron for a little while. Dantron's on his union mandated blue smoke break, so he's.
I like
he's
Lightning
out.
McQueen is like half giving you racist comments over there.
I know, not fair.
I gotta say,
That's our
just
boy Jones. Just so you know, he doesn't mean it.
Just real quick, the USS Farragut was not NCC 1702. Just in case anyone's wondering. That's one mistake I found.
Wow, good catch.
I just slid right by that because they're not very consistent on the naval construction contract.
Well, in the master list of Constitution class ships that I have on my hard drive, I have
and in your own brain,
all the inconsistencies. I'm working out all the inconsistencies. All right, so I'll be publishing it soon.
Discovery is trying to tell us that the TOS era didn't have individual ship insignias.
Yeah.
Not buying into it.
Yeah,
right,
no.
we agree.
No, the idiots like John Cooley think.
Inaccurate. Data in error.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No. Star Trek to Come published that joke of an article by that guy about. Oh well, actually, it's like no, you're a moron who's never seen Star Trek. So clearly,
no.
Anyway.
I think that your response article was good enough.
I think so too.
You were very.
We should post that in the chat. Hold on.
So guys, here's one of my big criticisms of this book. Few criticisms, gripes, stuff like this. You know, Kirk has to make it back, and he needs help. They're gonna have to fight their way back, and she's like, "Okay, I'll learn how to do that quickly. I'll fight with you. It feels good." Next page. Oh, at the risk of stating the obvious, I wouldn't have made it without you. You know, like they skip entire action sequences. I get why they do that in movies, but man, not when you got an Adam Hughes.
I think it might just be like, you know, playing with the tropes of Star Trek. Like that's your expectation as an audience member, right? Like, oh, that happened.
Well, I think he's like, I need more square footage for dialogue in future panels. So he's a little over the top with the dialogue, but like I said, it does ring true. It's thought through, but it's full of the little Claremontisms of language that just.
You read all his X-Men back in the day, right?
I tried, dude. I actually fell off because I just got so sick of his meandering plotting.
Yeah, it was
and
just too dense.
He would write these setups, and then it would be years later they wouldn't pay off, or they'd pay off. They'd just forget what happened. He would forget his own continuity, and then every issue, the Claremontisms, no quarter asked and none given.
You know, I'm not going to begrudge a writer lean it on the stuff he thinks is fun.
He's the best he is at what he does, but what he does is very wordy. Let's just say that.
See, that's a pretty deep reference. If you had said it in Clint Eastwood's voice, then that would have really sold it.
So beautiful. Adam Hughes, though, brings this home. I don't know if Carl Story is my first choice of inkers. I also was pretty shocked, pretty surprised that the cover, they tapped, who did they tap? Who was this? This is a very famous cover artist. His name is slipping my mind. He might even be a movie poster artist, but it's not representative of the art on the inside, which I think was
that's true. Choice. It's definitely different. Yeah.
So we got a lot of deep character stuff. Claremont also loves accents. He clearly especially a Southern accent. He goes hog wild on McCoy's accent, just like Rogue. She doesn't say I'm, she says
You can kind of hear he really captured. You said that before, the language of the characters, but when he does that dialect, writing out Dr. McCoy, you can hear DeForest Kelly's.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm just an old country doctor here.
And the repartee between him and Spock, perfect. Very, picture perfect right from the movies and the series. Love it.
Yeah, I'm telling you, this is one of the best Star Trek. Just capturing everything in the comics, the artists. is
Look at how
great.
sexy that ship is. That's the sexiest ship.
It is beautiful.
Girls, whatever. Give me those ships.
Well, he goes 48 pages. I mean, this is almost 100 pages. It's a 96-page graphic novel. And we don't really it's all set up for the first really half. Flashbacks and setup bringing us to the main plot, and finally the return. As if we didn't know, sexy Vulcan would return. She was kidnapped by the Romulans, but it turns out she's actually half Romulan, but didn't know it until they captured her, and now she's all in. But is she really? Is she really? Or is she secretly slipping stuff to Kirk and something secret is going on over here?
Well, I've seen a few Star Treks, and so I know that what's probably happening there.
I'm going to say beautiful stuff. This is
it
one
really
of the
is.
more...
When you just look at the volume of the space in the negative space, like look at that right-hand page. There's just right there,
Yeah.
There's all those word balloons.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't even think about that because I'm so used to reading Claremont. I look at that page and I think, great, here's some stuff to read, And I know that is not the usual comics fan's experience with his work. It's just, it seems like, well, there's a lot of homework to see Wolverine just cut this guy in half with his claws, But
and this
it kind
requires
of works
if
for
you,
Star Trek.
If you take those word balloons out, there's a lot of empty space that this smart artist knew to leave in there for such wordy dialogue balloons. They don't all remember to do that, and sometimes they get their art cropped out by dumb balloons.
Well, plus this is Adam Hughes from '92, which is, what is that? That's like 30 years ago now.
Pretty early, right? Hot off of whatever Maze Agency or whatever he was doing.
This is definitely before Justice League, right? Is it after?
I would guess it's probably right in that era. It's right at that time. It was 93 when this came out. That's when I graduated from high school. So that's...
well,
yeah,
you know what? That probably explains Carl's story inking his stuff. Because this is a little crosshatchy for what we're used to from Adam.
This is what I'm saying. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. It's the
crosshatchiness.
Right.
I think that's a great observation.
Where I want to see who would have been the best inker in the world. I don't know.
For Adam Hughes or just in general?
Yeah, just for Adam Hughes. I mean, Terry Austin is the best.
I was just going to say, give me Terry Austin, man.
Yeah. Well, what we should do one of these days, guys, is if I can find the John Byrne Star Trek comics, we could take a look at some of those too, because I feel like he got a little bit more out there storytelling, artistic storytelling. Like, this is mostly interior, a lot of people talking, a lot of dialogue, not heavy on action, not heavy on space battles, or really a lot of shoot 'em up scenes, but it still reads very well.
I think Byrne did an amazing job. He did a thing called Leonard McCoy Frontier Doctor, about McCoy being a doctor on a backwoods planet before he got assigned to the Enterprise. Byrne.
Oh, I got to see that. I haven't seen that.
And that's amazing because there's not, he's on a planet in a village, right? So it's a real nice character piece. Byrne is just as big a fan of Star Trek as Claremont is. So every once in a while,
clearly,
I think what this would have looked like if Byrne had drawn it.
Well, and they both and Claremont references Dan Dare as a huge inspiration.
Does he really? Yeah.
Yeah, that's who he dedicates it to, and you guys will probably know who this is. So, dedicated to Frank Hampton and Dan Dare, pilot of the Spaceways, who first showed me the sense of wonder embodied in comics, and Robert A. Heinlein, who did the same for me in prose. Most of all, always to Beth, who keeps me honest. And then Adam Hughes says, Bob, the great bird truly responsible for the book you're holding. And I don't know what that means.
Well, the great bird of the galaxy is Gene Roddenberry, right? So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so he's thinking that it's thanking whatever editorial guy was responsible for this. I wonder if it's Bob Harris at that point. Who was another Bob? I mean, there was Bob.
Bob, the great bird. It's not Bob Wayne. I know that. I don't know.
Yeah, Bob. I was going to say Bob Wayne was marketing. So
yeah, he was sales.
It's probably Bob Harris. Oh, Bob Rozakis. That's who it is.
This is Robert Greenberger here. I don't know.
Who's Bob Rozakis that's production, right? I don't know. Somebody named Bob at DC helped to get that.
Okay, interesting. Oh yeah, and this cover art, Dave Dorman.
What? That's Dave Dorman. I would
It's
never
Dave
have
Dorman.
called that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have either. But now when you say it, then I look at Kirk's face. To me, is Dorman-esque. The Vulcan chick, not the greatest. This is not Dorman's
associate
best.
Dave Dorman with Star Wars too much to even think that he would have done this. I guarantee you that's probably his only Star Trek work, Dave Dorman.
Well, maybe somebody out there in the chat knows. Let's see. Bob Greenberger, that was who I'm guessing, because that's who's referencing the inside.
Yeah, that's probably who it is. Bob
I don't know who that is, though.
What?
Yeah, guys. Sorry about that, guys. I wish I knew more. I will say I want to thank you, Larry, for sending me this book. I loved. This is where Adam Hughes shines. This is where it's moments like these that, like some of the crappy licensed Star Trek comics, they just can't pull off this. You know, they can pull off a guy with a phaser and a uniform or whatever, but they just can't pull off real emoting and a moment like this. This is why I loved it. And while it's not the greatest Adam Hughes artwork out there I've ever seen, and not the best Chris Claremont ever seen, it might be the best Star Trek comic I've read.
I love the color on that. Whoever captured that sunset, that's doing all the heavy lifting on that last splash.
Beautiful stuff. Yeah, color art by Tom McCraw. Oh, let's talk about the format for a second, too, because 93, this is a weird format. I can't think of... This is a common format at Marvel before this, like in the 80s, but I don't... How many other oversized, perfect bound DC books are there?
Man, back then, that's actually a good point.
I don't know. I don't know many. There's a couple. Batman 3D comes to mind, or something like that. Well, a couple of those books. I have a feeling this was pushed very hard in bookstores and beyond the direct market.
It does look like they were doing an experiment for something, doesn't it? Because DC had the Star Trek license back then, and they were crushing it. Every time I see them try to do the mirror universe on TV, I always think, oh my God, what you people. And the comic crushed it. They did, Price, you'll love this. They did a mirror universe in the Wrath of Khan era. So everybody's wearing, they're all current to their likenesses of Wrath of Khan, but they're wearing, it's the mirror universe with monster maroons. And
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It was. They did
fellas, I'm sorry. That's an alarm calling John Price off to work. Apparently, somebody needs somebody to criticize Star Trek Discovery at length in writing right now. So we got to get out of here. I want to thank everybody for watching. Guys, any last plugs? What do you got for plugs?
Oh man, I'm just working on stuff with my kid. Nothing's ready to go yet or ready to talk about. Although he came up with an idea that I've never seen in anything. It's just a little throwaway. He's not going to hang up the whole story on. But it's something where I'm like, I can't believe this hasn't been done before. So we're selling the house. We're taking all our money and putting it on my kid. No.
Smart. It's a smart move. It's a smart move.
Larry, see, StarPod Log and StarPod Trek Podcast has got the inside dope.
Yeah, thank you for coming to the show today, because you.
Yeah, thank you so much for dropping knowledge. We appreciate it.
Really
come back anytime, guys. I gotta skedaddle. Wait a minute, where do we gotta go here? I gotta skedaddle myself. I gotta get back to comic book news. In fact, next Thursday on this channel on Comic Book News, we're gonna be talking to Chris Staros, editor-in-chief of Top Shelf Comics. Publisher of my all-time favorite graphic novel, Alan Moore and Eddie Campbell's From Hell. Can't wait to talk to that guy. Bacchus is better for a single artist's work, but And then what else? Oh, I just confirmed we're going to have Jim Rugg sometime in early January. He's going to come back. He's going to promote. He just announced he's going to be doing the Incredible Hulk Grand Design series. Are you familiar with the Grand Design stuff, Larry?
Yeah, what's that?
It's where they take a single artist and they say, take the entire body of... They've done it for 2 other artists. They did Ed Piskor on the X-Men. They said, take all of the X-Men and draw it in one comic, in one graphic novel.
Wow.
So he synthesizes the entire continuity into one. Tom Scioli did the same thing for Fantastic Four Grand Design.
Oh,
and
that
now
works.
Jim Rugg is going to do the Hulk. And let me tell you, those guys are all great, but Jim Rugg is a cut above as a renderer, and some of the pictures that I've seen coming out of there, this is going to be a must-have book.
They're choosing right guys. Like Tom's work is very Kirby, so giving him the FF seems like a no-brainer. And Jim Rugg,
his
artwork, I think of just like real powerful strokes and stuff. So that's the guy you want drawing the Hulk, right?
He's incredible. You should see he draws in 10 different styles, though. That's what's incredible about Rugg. So we'll be talking to him in early January. Thank you, guys. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Dan.
We got to get out of here. Come back next week. What have I got? Do I have something to bring us out on? Something fun? Oh, man, I was going to put out something fun.
Bryce, what you got going on? You're still doing your articles, right?
Yeah. Weekly reviews of Star Trek Discovery.
Tell the kids about Serious Star Trek as a group on Facebook. Come and talk to us about it.
Yeah,
and that reminds me, Larry, we got to try and figure out how we can broadcast this thing into the group live, so people just watching the group, it'll pick up there. We'll try that for next time. Guys, are we going to talk next week?
Yeah, absolutely. There's always Star Trek to talk about.
Yeah,
wait,
great.
That's next week. Yeah,
it's not a holiday, so so next week, we'll talk. I still want to talk Wrath of Khan, because like the motion picture's great, but like Wrath of Khan is where it happened for Star Trek. Like without that, I don't know. We see a lot after that. But I also want to look at Space Seed.
Okay.
And talk about those things. Maybe we could do that sometime in the future.
Sounds good to me.
Let's do Space Seed before the movie though, because
I think we should. I think we should, so that we can really like.
I'm totally down with that. Yeah.
Okay, that's the plan. Thank you guys for watching.
Thanks,
we will
Petron.
see you
Thanks, John.
next week on Serious Star Trek. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Live long and prosper.